we can't help you anymore. You need to help yourself or you're going to die.
Fuck yeah.
And
So heavy.
Yeah. And so I did everything I had to do. I mean, to get into treatment, I went through the BPA route.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the Walker Center, had no idea where I was going.
The BPA?
It's a physicians organization that creates funding for people that can't afford treatment.
Ah, okay.
And a lot of times the one of the main stipulations to get the BPA funding is like to be priorly incarcerated or to be an intravenous drug user.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
IV drug use. Yep.
And they're not going to like they want to be helpful, but they also don't want to waste their money on people that could actually either get out of it and or afford it themselves. And most people that are using drugs intravenously are at that point where they can't fucking stop without the intervention.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's damn near impossible. I've only known maybe one or two people that were intravenous drug users that were able to stop and never touch it again.
Yeah.
And that's like yet. And I don't mean to be a dick about that, but I mean
It's reality.
the likelihood of them picking up again without any sort of like aftercare or therapy or whatever
Spiritual experience.
Yeah, like the psychic shift or whatever the case may be, like it's really likely for them to pick up again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, I like to ask these kinds of questions because I've never been in recovery myself, and I assume that some of our listeners probably haven't either. So
Yeah. No,
if
it's
there's ever
good
anything
questions to ask.
that I'm confused about, I'm always like, yeah, why don't we go ahead?
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Expand. Absolutely. So I was probably the only guy to show up to the Walker Center with a smile on my face, but I knew I was finally there and I could finally be done. And it was the best thing I've ever done for myself. Here's what I learned. Go to meetings, get a sponsor, work the steps. So I had nowhere to go when I got out. A fellow, a client, patient, whatever you want to call it, from treatment came to pick me up to bring me back to Boise. We stopped a mountain home, hit a meeting, and then I got a sponsor who's still a really good friend of mine today. The day I got out, and I went to work, man. And I did not take it for granted, the opportunity that I was receiving at that time, you know. And it's interesting, like it could be even, sleeping on the floor, grounding myself. I did that long before I knew that I was trying to ground myself.
Right.
But I just made sense, right?
Right. It did for you what you were looking for at the time.
Yeah, but I didn't know that it was really doing that. What it came out to be.
There was no name for it at that point.
Exactly, right. Yeah. And so, and the same deal with treatment. I remember that, and this is gonna sell me out on this deal. But I mean, if I'm being honest, I had quit my job, but I had told my employer at the time that I got another job. But I quit my job, which then I didn't have the responsibility of work, and then it enabled me to be able to go to treatment. But at the time, it was like, why did you quit your job? And looking back on it, it's one of those, like in recovery, they say God thing or whatever, which, and stuff. So, and then life was really, really good, man, for, quite a few years after that.
So one of the questions that we like to ask our guests, that we've recently started asking our guests, is some advice that you would give yourself 10 years ago. And it being 2020, a year before you get sober would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what's some advice that you would have given yourself 10 years ago to 2010?
Yeah. Like, so
go ahead, sorry.
Well, no. I was just going to say, if there's a couple things I would say, number one is to, give myself what I deserve, which is self-love, and know I'm worth that, because that was always an issue for me. Anybody that does what I did to myself for 20 years has a really low opinion of themselves, and I did. I mean, I erased myself on a daily basis because I thought that little of myself.
Right.
And that's a big problem, right?
Yeah.
And again, back to how do you reverse that? Well, it doesn't happen after living, during a normal person's 20s, they go to college, they date, they have normal life experiences, you get married, you do whatever, right? I did none of that. I mean, I did none of the normal stuff. I've never walked across a stage and received a diploma. I've done really well for myself despite that.
Yeah.
But
You know what, though? It's not even a real diploma that they give you. So, like, that whole experience is overrated.
is that like the big cardboard check? Like it's just bullshit.
A rolled up piece of paper.
It's a prop
that they just have to hand you, and then they send you the diploma in the mail with no pomp, no circumstance.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't miss out. Then is
No.
what you're saying. Well, I feel a lot better about that now.
That
Here
whole
I am.
experience is absolutely overrated.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's great.
I didn't know that was a thing. Thanks for sharing, Eric.
Yeah.
I mean, most times, just a piece of paper rolled up, tied with a ribbon, so it looks official when they hand it to you, and you can take the picture. Like, hey, Mom, I did it.
You did this?
In high school, yeah.
Okay, so like when you open that roll of paper and there wasn't nothing on it, did that fuck you up pretty good or?
No, because I knew that was.
Oh, they prepped you for it.
Yeah, they told us they were going to send us.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Wait, was it like a Denny's placemat? You know that somebody had taken Crayola and written congratulations, you did it.
That at least would have been useful. No, this was just a piece of blank paper.
It was nothing
rolled up, tied with a ribbon.
Why even take the time?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I have not received diplomas either, so I'm right there with you. Like, a mirror image of your story. I feel like a lot for me. Restaurants and
when we talked, the first time it was kind of like I felt like that as well.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, being through
crazy.
it. Yeah.
Any other advice that you were?
So basically, self-love, and I would say just enjoy myself. You know, like we talked a little bit before we started the show about, a book I'm reading right now is Love is Letting Go of Fear. And, I operate from two different places, love
Who's
or fear.
Who's the author of that?
I don't know.
You'll have to
Covey, maybe?
Stephen R. Covey?
Yeah, okay. Maybe. And it's
what's the name of the book?
Love is Letting Go of Fear.
We got the Googler over there.
It's based off of this workshop, and it's an interesting read. And it's these steps or practices or whatever. But anyways, it's all about inner peace. And how do you get to inner peace from what, and I've read this book. I don't remember it from when I read it 8 years ago when I first got sober.
Right.
But it's a forgiveness piece of it, right?
Right. Who's the author, Eric?
Love is Letting Go of Fear, 12 Steps to Greater Happiness by Gerald G. Jampolsky.
Not even close. Yeah.
Well, it's probably the same genre.
Yeah. Close.
It's all development stuff.
Yeah. So enjoying myself more and experience more inner peace. That's what I would have said to myself. Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear the name of the book in Spanish?
No. Oh, okay. Yes, please.
Amar es liberarse del miedo. I'm sure I didn't pronounce any of that right.
Say the author's name in Spanish. I'm just kidding. It's the same.
Geraldo Jampolsky. I don't know. I just offended so many different people.
Yeah.
I just offended so many different people.
Okay.
Whatever.
So the donating the 20% of your proceeds or profits or whatever to you.
So
what's the name of that thing again?
It's the Idaho Conservation League. So it was going to be a NIFC first. It was the National Interagency for Fire Center, which is based here, right? But that's a government organization, so they can't take donations. They said the ICL would be a good route to go. And so basically, at first, when I started doing this, I knew nothing. And I'll tell you how this came about, is that I basically said, this has done so much for me. I mean, this literally brought me back to whole again, that I woke up one morning and I said, okay, so I sell food. That's what I do now. So I run a food service brokerage. Mm-hmm. And
a food service brokerage?
Yeah. So
it's like somebody calling you up like, I need 30 pounds of Angus beef.
No, so it's
sell the bacon, buy the beef. Like how does
it's like Wall Street, where it's very like people are yelling, slamming down phones. There's a bunch of papers flying,
Why couldn't you tell me this morning?
Yeah, exactly.
The budget got cut from $1,500 to
always be closing, all that.
You lost us 22,000 pounds of shrimp.
Yeah.
How dare you?
It's not even as exciting as shrimp, though. It's like, sweetener or
Crusties.
Yeah,
I don't know that I've ever heard anybody describe shrimp as exciting. So,
well,
all right.
In the protein world, let me tell you, man, that is, yeah. So, anyway, so I'm a salesman by trade, and I know how to sell stuff, and I knew nothing about creating clothing. So I said, okay, well, I can go do trail cleanup, right? I can take a chainsaw. I can go pick up trash. Huge issue with garbage. Human waste, like we talked about. We'll get into that in a second if we have an opportunity, which is, I know it's crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, like that.
We'll definitely have an opportunity because
okay.
I want to know why people are just shitting on hiking trails. Like,
I want to know why, too.
What are you doing?
So, so I woke up one morning and I said, Elevation Idaho. And I said, I'm going to start making T-shirts.
Yeah.
And everybody told me that was a bad idea. In fact, the shirt that I just gave you, when I showed them that design,
which is nice shirt. And it was a very nice gesture on your part. So thank you for
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Soft. It's so soft.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I like to wear, man. So that's what I make. It's really Sawtooth inspired. That's what's changed my life. That's where I love to go. I'm headed there this weekend. But I dubbed it Tooths, short for Sawtooth.
Is Seven Devils up there? Is that Sawtooth, or does that sound familiar to you?
No, I don't think so. And then this is where probably I'll get a hard time because of geography and stuff like that. Like I literally have worked my way backwards on peaks in the Sawtooth Range.
Okay.
And I'm dedicated to doing that for the rest of my life until I move on to something else.
Okay.
So I decided to make T-shirts, and in the beginning I said I'm going to give 20%. If I sell something for $10, I'm going to give $2 to the ICL, which is great until I realized that I'm basically paying money out of my own pocket to make shirts and sell stuff, and it's completely not profitable.
Right.
And there's multiple factors in that, and I don't want to alienate myself from any other outlets to where I can sell things, so I won't go into that too much.
Right.
You and I kind of talked about that. You have a past, so you know some of that piece.
Right.
But so it is 20% of profit. So to give you an example, the first time I made a donation, I think it was going to be like, $14, so I gave him 50. Right.
Yeah.
And then the second time, and I can't even remember, but the most recent one was $750, right. And that was
That's pretty epic.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big deal, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And stuff, and they do good work. And I would be lying if I said like I knew everything that they were, every. I don't want to call it operation, but every one of their agendas that they're working on. But I do know that they're all about conservation of Idaho and what's good for Idaho.
Right.
And, it's two things really. It's about the conservation, but also whatever it is. I always think of City Slickers, right? And I think about that moment in, where Jack Palance says, "You know what the secret of life is?" And he holds up his finger. And then, of course, Billy Crystal says, "What, your finger?" And he's like, "No, it's just one thing." Whatever that one thing is for anybody, for me, I connect through every time my foot hits the ground when I'm trail running or I'm hiking, when I'm up in the mountains. I mean, there's nothing like being at 9,000 or 10,000 feet when it's, 10 degrees outside and you turn off your headlamp and you can see every star in the sky. And, if it's snow covered, think about the snow. Where's that snow been? Where's that water from?
Right.
It could come from anywhere. I mean, and here it is in a fresh form, untouched, right?
Right.
That's one of the reasons why I love to run in snow as well. But it's also about the promotion of connecting with one's inner self. And that's where I'm at. That's what path I'm on. So, it may not be mountains for somebody. Like I got a good friend that it's music. It's also mountains, but I mean, he's a musician. He connects through music. That's his therapy.
Campfire music kind of situation, or just like
he's real deal. Like royalties, Spotify type thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Good dude. And he's actually like one of the best climbers I know. And also just as far as good dudes, like he sets a goal for himself and he does it. Like, I mean, from an admiration standpoint, this guy is just like one of the best humans that I've ever met on this earth, you know?
Yeah.
And I would say that about, you know, like my grandfather, my father, and I mean, you know, I mean, up there with that.
Right.
But yeah, so it's the donation piece, but you know, it's also about getting out there and connecting. And that's what it's done for me. And that